There are a ton of playstyles in Smash Ultimate, and some people really despise some. I think camping is probably the most negative connotation to people because it seems like just doing nothing, and I think some characters are coded to do camping that I think are really cool. If you enjoy content like this, make sure to like and subscribe. We're trying to get to 2,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and I'd appreciate if you can be a part of that. But we're going to be talking about characters I love that people might not. Let's start off with Rosalina. I think Rosalina and Luma are so cool. Like, I get it because when it comes to fighting them, it feels like you're just constantly trying to get rid of Luma and then try to get the Rosa who is evading you the whole time and running away, terrified of you, and trying to make it so you're having a bad time getting camped. But I just love puppet characters. It's such a rare character type in Smash Ultimate, but I do think that there are so many cool setups you can do with Rosalina that Dabuz definitely exemplified. Even if you were fighting an aggressive Rosalina, they have to dash back because of how Luma works. Luma's so fragile, it's so easy to knock her off stage. If you don't use her well, if you don't take your time, it feels like you're just going to be getting your power just ripped from you. And Rosalina, while still being a good character, isn't strong enough to just be able to mash whatever she wants. It feels like you're constantly trying to place yourself in spots where you're not going to lose and you're not going to take random damage. I like Rosalina because her setups are so cool to me. Even past Dabuz, we have Mpopo doing fantastic at Supernova this last weekend, and it's showing that I still do love seeing Rosalina around. Even though Dabuz doesn't enter as much, I'm glad we still see high-level Rosalina players, and I'm glad we still see the cool setups that I like about Luma. I think the D-Syncs with Luma are really cool. I think doing back air to up smash is nuts. I think doing, like, just throwing Luma and then comboing between the two characters has always been one of my favorite things, and I honestly love projectile characters who have setups. That's like my favorite type of character. It's wild because I end up maining Mario, but I still think characters like Toon Link who can do stuff with bombs are still fantastic, and I think if everything works out, it's super awesome. Not everything does work out though, because characters swing through your stuff. Luma doesn't really have a gigantic hitbox all the time. You still have to set up while people don't have to at all. You're pretty light, you're still edge guardable. I still think this character has flaws that I think you have to just be a better player to overcome, but I will always appreciate Rosalina. No matter how much she feels like she has to camp to get around all this stuff, I still think her setups are awesome. Next, we're going to be talking about Olimar. I think the coolest thing about Smash Ultimate is how creative the different characters can be when Sakurai really tries, and I think the way they've handled Olimar is really cool. Having different Pikmin is such a given how the Pikmin series is. Of course, the different properties of the Pikmin are really cool. I love that, even though there's obvious stuff where, like, okay, purples do more damage and blue is for throwing, that you don't really think about the fact that yellow, while being an electrical type, also makes his hitboxes bigger when he's just throwing aerials out or throwing smash attacks out, which makes like certain scenarios very interesting, and you'd be able to up smash situations you wouldn't be with any other Pikmin. I like that white Pikmin are you not just you throwing them at people, but the fact that they do more in their pummel. I still think that the fact that we have so many different Pikmin types and it still feels like Olimar is Olimar without having, the 7 Pikmin he did in Brawl is still really cool. Sure, this does culminate in just throwing them a lot at the person, especially when you have 2 purples. You just keep throwing it over and over and over again, and this guy is a little like just a small character that feels like he's just running away from you constantly to set up his nonsense. But I think when I play Olimar, I never really think of it like that. I feel like I'm just mostly controlling the neutral and controlling the pace of the game, trying to get them to come at me, because I don't really have ways to deal with hitboxes, since most hitboxes go through Olimar stuff, and it makes me hate him a lot less. I can find that when I watch top level Olimar, they just do it in a hyper fixation of just throwing stuff constantly, and there's always in your face with that. And I can understand that being super annoying, especially because he's small on top of that. But man, I think that players like Candle make this character look so cool, and I love watching Candle fight these top players. I don't even know how Candle does it because I feel like matchups like Corrin or Wolf or Fox feel impossible with how big their hitboxes are and how much Pikmin just die and explode. But they always just find a way with just using purple Pikmin and go through stuff and throwing at them constantly and just making such good decisions that I think, even as lame as they're coded to be, Olimar is such a cool character. Next up is Pac-Man, and I'm not saying this to hate on any Kazuya players, but you guys have no idea how sad I was to see T play Kazuya way more than Pac-Man against these top players. It makes sense. Kazuya does better against these sword types. Kazuya does better against a lot of these top player types. Kazuya is insane and is a better character, but man, I like seeing Pac-Man. I do think, again, this is another character that is a setup character, and I find that setup characters are really cool, but he does take time to set up, which is his biggest flaw, because if you don't give him time to set up, he does become a lot weaker, and I feel like having to get around that is what makes top levels so interesting. And I find T, sometimes you'll see T just go for, I'm gonna get Galaga, and I'm gonna throw it at him, and just do a basic combo, and I'm gonna get Bell, and then throw it at him, and then I'll do forward smash, and he'll kill at 70, and that's the entirety of it, the entirety of Pac-Man. And yeah, I feel like that's just a requirement because of how broken some of these characters are. But man, even past that, even knowing that that's just how some top level Pac-Man is, there's always some crazy setup Pac-Man can do. There's always some crazy clip you can see on Twitter with this character. There's always some fruit setup you're not really thinking about. I think as lame as Pac-Man can be, I feel like there are so many funny scenarios that I always get excited when I see Pac-Man on screen, even if it's not T. I think there are fantastic Pac-Man players out there that have shown that this character can be super creative, fun, and good all at the same time. I think it just makes sense that T does go Kazuya for the most part, because he doesn't have to deal with the nonsense of setting up against these people and having to charge and do the same things over and over and it not working out because they swing through the stuff anyway. And people have dealt with Pac-Man for many years, so they know that their character can do well. And I wish Pac-Man just did better against Fighter Pass 2, because it feels like he doesn't do that great against Steve or do that great against Pyramithra, or struggles a little bit against Rob, struggles with Cloud, struggles with Roy. Like, there are characters that are in the meta that are, like, struggles with Palu too. I just think there's a lot of characters that make it hard for him to do what he wants, so he has to basically simplify his setups just to Bell and doing Galaga over and over. But as cool as I think T's Kazuya is, I'll never forget how much fun it was to watch his Pac-Man ruin people's lives. I feel like my opinion of these characters would change if I did see them more. I feel like, yeah, projectile characters are pretty obnoxious, and having people dash back constantly can be very frustrating to fight against. But I think it's more interesting for me as a spectator than a player, because I play Mario and I think he does good against all these characters. I honestly think he beats Pac-Man and he beats Olimar, even though I think Rosalina can be kind of tough. But I don't know, maybe it is just that I think that the meta is a bit stale right now, and I love seeing how these wacky characters can get past that. Seeing these characters who are just worse overcome the adversity of fighting against Min Min and Steve and Sonic and Game & Watch and Snake, I think just makes me feel something as a spectator instead of just watching the same 3 matchups over and over. Hopefully we do see these characters more, especially since we're getting more and more top players out here. But, you know, this is just me doing a wish list. I really hope to see more, even if people don't like them, even if people find them lame. I think they're creative and very cool. But thank you guys for watching the video today. Let me know how you feel about the characters in the comments. Let me know if there's any characters you think I should watch more, because I feel like they're characters I don't really get to see that much. I haven't really get to watch characters like Mewtwo or Lucas, and I feel like there can be some cool stuff there. But I appreciate you. Have a good day.